Don't you love these dolls? I think they're just absolutely wonderful. I know a collector who has set up an entire panorama in her home of various scenes using poupées, and they are so realistic and lifelike. And one of the things that she has done, and which all of you should do if you collect poupées, is to try to gather the accessories that go with them. This little piece, in the States we always called this a carpet bag because this is what was known after the Civil War when Northerners went to the South. They always were carrying this like little valise. In France it's called a sac de voyage, and it's really a great design. We should have more of these today. You can lift the top up and you have storage there, or you can open the top and then you have your storage inside. So the little sac de voyage, to find an all original one is great. And then the wonderful furniture that was being made, again, for the French doll makers or doll industry at the time. The doll itself was wonderful. They fought to have beautiful dolls, but what they really wanted to do was to create an industry in which Mom brought her child back to the store over and over again. A new costume, a new accessory, a piece of furniture, something for the child to play with. Nothing ever changes, just like today. And this was one of the most important of the shops. This little doll bears the label à la Poupée de Nuremberg. It was the doll shop, it actually wasn't a Nuremberg shop, it was a very prestige shop in Paris. And it was run by Madame Lavallée-Perron. Who, again, really tried to build up the doll market. And what she did, she started to publish a magazine called La Poupée Modèle. And in that, she would talk about new dolls that were coming out, but then she would always talk about all of the things you could buy for your doll to make it very, very special. She named her doll Lily. And this is an example of the Lily doll offered by Madame Lavallée-Perron in her Paris doll shop. Wooden body, has the original label on the front of the body, and has this gorgeous, gorgeous face with very pale bisque, beautiful original wig, and when we turn it around, you'll see the bonnet. Wonderful antique piqué dress of the period, carrying her little bone-handled silk parasol with the matching silk fringe. Let's turn it around so you can see. These dresses seem simple, but if you can see through the camera's eyes all of the detail of the stitching and the costuming and the little delicate trims that go on them, they really aren't simple at all. They're just a masterpiece of art in order to make it so perfectly fit the doll and to make it a complete vision and not just a dress that you notice as opposed to how beautiful the doll is. I love that particular parasol. Again, she has wonderful shoes, and I want to turn it up now so you can see her beautiful coronet of flowers. These were every one of these pieces: parasol, shoes, socks, underwear, the flowers, the dress. Every one of these was a little industry in itself in Paris, and little shops specialized in these. Another of the very famous shops in Paris, doll and toy shops, was called Au Paradis des Enfants. And I just think that was the greatest name, the paradise for children. And this, indeed, the things that they sold in there were a perfect paradise. And this is one of their wonderful dolls. She has the kid body with the gusset jointing in near mint condition. It's impossible to find today, and so extraordinary when we do. I love her costume. She's wearing a black, almost like a morning costume, with her dress, her little shawl with a fringe over it. But then somewhere along the line, this lady said, okay, enough with the mourning. I've got to have a little beauty in my life. And she had devised this superb costume, or collar, overlay collar of lace, very finely embroidered lace that she wore over the top. And even though she still has the snood capturing her hair perfectly in the back, she has a fancy little tie at the front to really bring it to life. Also, please look that she's carrying her wonderful little chatelaine of accessories, and she has wonderful old shoes. And her body has the Au Paradis des Enfants label on it. This is a very distinctive fashion that was done at the time, very distinctive in terms of the body. Collectors always call it the baggy pants, which is a pretty horrible name. But the body is very slender, and it is kid stretched over wood. The upper part of the legs, the thigh part of the legs, were made almost like a knicker or a loose pant, like a culotte. And so the doll could articulate more freely at the knee without fear of the kid wearing away at the knee. So she's known at that. She was sold, it was a very luxurious body. It was sold at various doll shops around Paris. Has a wonderful kid, bisque hands again, very expressively modeled with separated fingers that are very, very fine. And again, I would like to call to your attention this unbelievably gorgeous original gown. We're going to move her to the front of the stage so she can have her beautiful turning around. Her very fine modeling, if you notice right below the upper part of the neck rim, there's almost like an indentation or a dimple there. Extra little detail in modeling. That was a sign of her luxury status. And notice little things like her hair, her decorative hair comb. Again, something that would have been a special little product that the mother would have bought in the shop. Wonderful original earrings. She's holding a beautiful little woven purse. Stunning doll. And again, beautiful undergarments and leather boots. Now our friend Émile Jumeau, or originally the firm Pierre-François Jumeau, was not to be outdone. They had gorgeous poupées as well, and we have two very beautiful examples from the collection here to show you today. This lovely girl is dressed more in the mode enfantine, or child style of the time, and she's even carrying her wonderful little folio to carry her little schoolwork or artwork. She has a very beautiful blouse, and she has her matching hat to her wonderful dress, wearing little pearls. Everything Ursula Brecht did, she just did of the finest quality and made sure that all of the accessories were exactly the way the doll shop would have wanted them 150 years earlier. Look at her wonderful shoes. Well, 100 years earlier. She collected in the 1960s, and these dolls were being made in the 1860s to late 1870s. Another beautiful Jumeau poupée, this one with an all-kid body. Again, beautiful boots, a wonderful costume, parasol, wooden-handled parasol with blue silk and lace. And look at how the jacket just fits her in the back. It's just an absolute work of art. Now I want you to look at her face, and when we come to look at some Jumeau bébés in a little while, I want you to remember this face, because this is the face that evolved into becoming the child doll, or bébé. Jumeau began with these poupées, and at first very, very slender faces, and then evolved, becoming rounder, the eyes becoming bigger, and evolving into becoming the bébé face. One of the major firms in Paris during the golden age of the poupée was the Gaultier firm. They evolved eventually into making bébés, and they also made porcelain doll heads for many of the other small companies that didn't have a porcelain firm themselves. So they would be commissioned by someone to make certain doll heads, which they would make, and then the company would sell it, merging it with their body that they would order from someone else and a costume they would make in their own studios, and they would market it as their own. Well, these are dolls that were actually marked with the FG, or the Gaultier signature, and so I wanted to show you the different types that were made by that company. On this side, we have a wonderful girl in her original costume. I'm going to move this little sweetheart so you can see her a little better. And they made them with kid bodies. They made them with wooden bodies. They made them with body that we refer to as the Geslin body, which I'll show you in just a moment. And this is one of their wooden-bodied models. And again, a very desirable aspect of the wooden body is that you can pose them in so many different ways. And again, she's wearing wonderful shoes. And when I turn her around, you're going to be able to see her costume all the way around. I'm sorry to dwell on turning them around, but so many of you have commented that what you like about the videos is the ability to see the costumes from many different angles. So I want you to be able to do that. And as I turn her around again, look at this wonderful little purse she's holding. It's absolutely fabulous. Ursula Brecht really sought finding these wonderful purses. Now, the classic example of the Gaultier fashion would be with the kid body. And here we have one that I find particularly sweet because I think her costume is absolutely extraordinary. And she's such a rare little size. It's so wonderful to find her this way. She has a little extra detail of a little purse hanging around her neck. She has the turquoise jewelry. And she is holding another one of these wonderful little children with the original bunting. Oh, she's kind of dangling it right now, but that poor child, we'll hope she won't fall. But that costume, look at the wonderful detail of the costume and the little turquoise velvet ribbons. I think that costume is an absolute treasure in itself. Gaultier made many of his fashion dolls with the body system that was originally deposed by a man named Edward Panier, but was made by a company called Geslin. And the reason we refer to it as the Geslin body is that many of them will have that stamp, Geslin, on the body itself. Now, what the system was a metal armature with padding and then a stockinette cover. And that consisted of the entire body, allowing this infinite articulation, which was so wonderful. The doll could bend, kneel, sit, wave her arm, all sorts of things. The only thing that it didn't have with the stockinette was these beautiful bisque hands and bisque bare feet. And I think when you have one of these dolls, this is just me, everybody feels differently, but I think they should always be posed like soaking their feet or resting their feet on a cushion, because it's such a beautiful part of their sculpting that it really should be featured. And this one has, again, a just very stunning original wig floating down the back of her hair, and a beautiful costume that's designed to show the bare feet. Now, Geslin, as I told you, made commissioned bisque heads for other firms. He not only made them for other doll firms, he made them for automaton firms. And this is a very good example of a beautiful lady. The elegant lady sits on the velvet cushion and plays her musical instrument. It's really beautiful quality of music on her. While we're looking at that, I just wanted to also point out to you, because I think that many collectors have started to do this, and I think it makes them so realistic when they make their settings with their poupées. They have started to bring in some of these wonderful pieces that were being made mostly by the Vichy company at that time, but they're utilizing the French fashion heads. And I have 3 examples to show you. One is this wonderful portrait lady. She's absolutely stunning. And there are 2 of them. The larger one has a very portrait face. The smaller one has a childlike face. And they're riding their cycles at the time. This one with a wonderful lantern on the front. Both totally original costumes and absolutely extraordinary. I always think it's funny that she's wearing spectacles. Like, I guess if you needed driving, maybe you took your eye test for your driver's license and she found out she had to wear spectacles, whatever. They're great pieces to have. And then a whole series of pieces of the dolls, pushing baskets, pushing a little perambulator with a little bisque doll in it. That's in the auction as well. And again, utilizing basically the French fashion faces and then putting them on little mechanical or automaton pieces. All 3 of these pieces, the 2 cyclists and the little boy with a basket, are mechanical. I'm not going to wind them up because I don't want them to run off my table. But when you wind them up, the wheels would go and they would go forward and turn in circles and do wonderful things. Great examples of what was being done in France during the 1860, 1870 period with poupées or poupée heads by the automaton makers.